Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. I've been doing talk radio now for a couple of decades, and rarely do I get excited about an interview. Let me tell you, folks, I am excited about this interview. Spoke unceasingly to my wife, who threatened to divorce me if I didn't hurry up and have this interview because of how much I talked about George Gilder the last week. Just so excited to get him on the program. You might know George Gilder from his book, Wealth and Poverty, which was the Bible of the Reagan administration back in 1980. And I was such a Reagan nerd in 1980. You could catch me on campus walking around with my Wealth and Poverty and Jude Wanniski's How the World Works. I believe that was the name of that book.
The Way the World Works.
Yeah, exactly. I had both of those. I was a good little supply side disciple. But that book, your book, is so much more about really the sociological impact of wealth than it is about how to just merely create it. Phenomenal book. And I consider you one of the greatest social thinkers of the last half century. And delighted to have you on the program.
Well, I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah, you're again, a great contributor.
After a half century.
Yes, well, you weren't writing that long, but I'm giving you that. I would say your impact was rather huge over the past 50 years. And I think people would be hard-pressed to find someone who helped change the debate better than you. The left are enjoying glory days today simply because I think we do have a problem with the voting public and a media that seems to be completely aligned with the hard left. But, until 1980, paying more in taxes was considered the most patriotic thing a person could do. And you kind of helped alter that debate for the Jack Kemps and the Ronald Reagans out there.
Yep. High tax rates don't stop you from being rich. They stop you from getting rich.
That's right.
What's the key theme.
Yeah, and that's one of the things.
They don't distribute income. They redistribute taxpayers from productive work and useful investment to golf courses and foreign beaches and municipal bonds and tax shelters and all the apparatus of tax avoidance that's stimulated by excessive tax rates.
Which do little to create more wealth, more jobs, and a healthier economy. I like this, in fact, in my opinion, because it's interesting when you look at 2008 in particular. I haven't looked at 2012, but the top 1% voted for Barack Obama 3-1 over John McCain. And the reason why is that the mega rich are the only ones who can afford these policies. And in a way, they're a form of protectionism, aren't they?
They are. That's exactly right. It's crony socialism that we have today.
That's exactly right. So now your new book, Knowledge and Power, which I just got on Friday, so I haven't been able to finish it, but I did jump into it. But I read a couple of key reviews from other big fans of yours, and you're kind of suggesting maybe a little bit of a paradigm shift in the way people look at the economy, very similar to what you did in Wealth and Poverty. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, when I finished Wealth and Poverty, I had a feeling of satisfaction at having expounded the supply-side idea, but also a sense of uneasiness about a conflict between the mechanistic model that dominated economics, including classical economics, in which I accepted, and creative destruction, disruptive creativity of entrepreneurs, and inventors, which I described as the only force of real growth and expansion in the economy. So we have this model of economics that's mechanistic and deterministic and really mimics physics, and model of growth that is creative and disruptive and consists of disequilibrium rather than equilibrium. Mm-hmm. And going to Silicon Valley and studying the internet and telecommunications and writing Life After Television and Telecosm, I was plunged into an understanding of information theory. Irwin Jacobs and Andy Viterbi at Qualcomm first told me about it, I believe, and I came to understand that information theory defines information as surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole apparatus. It's the theory that underlies all our wealth today, or most of it. The computer science and networking science, all is really the source of our information economy, and the center of it is surprise. And in Wealth and Poverty, I said that creativity always comes as a surprise to us.
Yes.
If it didn't, we wouldn't need it, and socialism would work. And here, information theory defines information as surprise. So I found a whole new way of integrating all economics through information theory.
Right. And so the federal government, or all governments, try to mitigate disruptions that are potentially harmful, but unfortunately they're more successful at mitigating disruptions that can actually create a paradigm shift in the economy. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're trying to suppress surprise.
Right. And meanwhile, they tend to only suppress the good surprises, but actually leave themselves vulnerable for the worst surprises.
That's right.
And that's what we've seen.
When you guarantee business and guarantee everything that mortgages and economic activity, you prevent the creation of knowledge. And as knowledge and power, my declares, all wealth derives from the accumulation of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
We have the same materials that the caveman had. The caveman had access to all the natural resources that we have. All subsequent progress derives from the accumulation of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And knowledge depends on falsifiability. Unless a business can fail, it can't generate new knowledge and wealth. So as the government guarantees farm incomes and guarantees poverty incomes and guarantees incomes of the big banks too big to fail, it suppresses knowledge and thus prevents the surprises that are the essence of wealth creation.
Were you influenced much by Knowledge and Decisions by Thomas Sowell?
I was. I quoted at the very beginning of my book.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And he made many of these points. He wasn't aware of information theory at the time, because information theory didn't really come into its own and become completely pervasive until the Internet became the foundation of our worldwide webs of glass and light, and the foundation really of economic expansion.
Yeah. And by the way, you were talking about how we kind of have this almost technocrat view both on the left and the right of the economy. But, economics originally, if you look at 1776 and Adam Smith, it was a moral philosophy. And capitalism is a moral worldview. And you talk a lot about that as well in Wealth and Poverty.
I do talk about it. And that moral view, however, can be integrated into the economic model when you use information theory, because a key principle of information theory is that it takes a no surprises carrier to bear surprising information.
George Gilder.
And the no surprises carrier in capitalism is the rule of law, the Constitution, stable families, predictable money values, all the regularities of civilized society make possible the creative surprises of capitalism.
No, George Gilder is our guest, author of Knowledge and Power, one of the great thinkers. Really, you're kind of a social philosopher more so than an economic one, although economics is a big part of it. You look at that whole macro picture like I don't think anyone else does. Delighted to have you on the show, and we're going to continue our discussion with George Gilder over right after this break. Make sure you check out his new book, Knowledge and Power, and I suggest the entire George Gilder library. Men in Marriage, originally Sexual Suicide, anything by Gilder is must reading. We're going to continue more after this right here on The Price of Business.